That's why I mean, I used to do that trip. I used to drive to Yarrabilba, which is a huge trip right up beside Logan Village. And I used to do that from the southern Gold Coast. And I did it every day for a year. And eventually I just went, life's got to be easier than this. I did not move here to do this. So I took a job a quarter of the distance. And then I took a job a quarter of the distance again. I'm in the suburb that I work, living here now. So not into that at all anymore, you know. But, yeah. Oh, look, it's been one of those nutty weeks. It really, it really has. I mean,
yeah, and then you've got Americans too. Like, what did you find? Like American service, you know, they've got this kind of way, and you go like, man, you really talk like that on like the movies.
It was a mix, you know. We went to one American place, and this is the thing that annoyed me about Vegas. Everybody's got a hand out for more than is agreed. You know what I mean? And we went for a meal. We were like 5 days of living on fast food and beer. And we were like, we got to get out. So we went out to this place for a meal, and it said the thing I ordered was grilled salmon. That was $24. And then it said, oh, there's a state tax, which is 10%. There's a 30% addition because there's 6 of you. And then there's another thing called gratitude. And then they want a tip. Gratitude is apparently for the venue. Wow. And it went from $24 to $45. And that was without the tip, because we didn't give them a tip because they
Imagine if you couldn't read well.
They took so long to get the meal to us. We just went, forget about it. Tip's not automatic. You don't leave us sitting here with a table full of empty glasses that we have to clear to put the plates down, and then we have to clear the plates to have another drink. We just forget about that. And then we, you know.
What a weird system.
Yeah, no. Just
surprising they've kept it for so long.
But we're so lucky in Australia. You can see a price, you can pay it, done. You know what I mean?
Yep. I remember being in America going, I've got $12 in my pocket.
Yeah.
I'll buy that. And then going, oh no, I've got no more money.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Like that cold, frozen, like, oh, what am I going to do? It's a nice person.
That was me in the limo on the way home. I said, man, I'll give you $4. He's like, you better keep that, man.
Yeah.
You need it more than me. You know?
Think of what people in, it's like, I guess, in Surfers Paradise when all the schoolies come.
Yeah.
And if you're working in Surfers Paradise, you'd be like, yeah, mate, what do you want? Yeah, mate, what do you want? You know, like, come on, you're just like you're this thing that shows up. So I bet they would go, oh, you've got this Irish accent. Oh, yeah, what do you want?
Yeah. I know. It was good. It was a great trip, but I'll never go back there.
You see anything strange? Like, I used to watch, like a police movie.
Yeah.
I know, a police TV show where people would often they gave them this word, I can't remember, where you'd steal the money that you'd throw into fountains, you know, wishing well sort of fountains.
Yeah.
Well, it's big news there, and it has a name.
Okay.
Lots of guys will jump in and pocket all the money every day.
Yeah. No, we went, when we left Vegas, well, the MGM one day, the lads wanted to go and see this place called Pawn Stars, which is a place where it's a TV show where they they buy and sell everything. So they wanted to see all these antiques in this shop and get some memorabilia. So we went down to the Pawn Stars, and they had a World War II motorcycle, a Steve McQueen type green German bike, you know, and then they had all these guns, like Abraham Lincoln type stuff, you know, and that was at the danky end of town. And when we left, you couldn't get a taxi there because there was no tourists, there was no taxis, and all these crack addicts were following us down the road, trying to panhandle, you know what I mean? And it was like, man, this is what happens to people who stay here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've seen that show a lot of times. They're kicking crazies out.
Yeah.
Too. And then there's some sort of almost altercation on the street. Like, no, man, you can't come in here.
Oh, man, I talked to this one hooker, actually, when we were back at the hotel. Once the 4-day party calmed down and 95% of the Irish guys left, there was just people who were there waiting to leave in the bar. And these were guys who were all, you know, just used to having a drink, didn't give a shit about anything. They were all hardcore Irish guys, you know, left. Yeah. And all the hookers were coming up to us. And I never noticed there was that many of them in the bar because we were just in crowds of guys.
Right.
And then once that cleared, you were like, shit, there's nothing but hookers and security guards here and us now.
How do you know they were hookers just the way they dress?
Because they're coming up and grabbing you by the nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, they're coming up and grabbing you by the crotch and saying, bring me back to the room. And you're like, get off me, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And one of these girls comes up to me just before I left, and she was like, you know, only young, black girl, and she was telling me, oh, this, that, and the other. And I said, what are you doing here? She was like, what do you mean? And we had this 20-minute conversation. Well, it wasn't 20 minutes, probably 5 minutes. But I was saying, this is hell. Well, I've been up in this room. I've been here for 5 days. I think this is hell. Right? It's the closest thing to hell on earth. Nothing good is going to happen to you here. Look, go down the other end of the strip and look at what happens to people who stay. I said, and she was getting upset. And I was saying, look, you don't need to do this. I know you've had a hard life, or else you wouldn't be here. But if you got out of here and went somewhere nice, you might meet people who want to help you out. But you're not going to get anybody to do anything for you here. I said, this town does nothing except chew people up and destroy them. Even all the money that comes in here only goes up to the hotel owners. Yeah. All these people who are running the betting tables, the croupiers, they're all on minimum wage. I said, there's nobody here that isn't already rich getting rich. So you get out of here, turn up somewhere good. And she was like, how do I go? I said, what do you mean, how do you go? You bang one person and you take that money and you put it on bus fare. Turn up somewhere empty-handed because
that has a beach. Don't you get the feeling that it's got a beach? It's got to be somewhere with clean. A beach.
Do not stay here. You know what I mean? Just sleep on a beach somewhere and get a job in a juice bar. You do not need to live like this. You know, there will be something good happen if you reach out for it. You know, so yeah, we
must be the money. You know, they must make. Or put it this way: the girls that I know have done things like that.
Yeah,
they end up with $2,000 a day. Like $1,000, $2,000.
They don't end up.
How do you go back to? How do you go back to just being a receptionist?
With, you know what I mean? What do they leave with? They probably spend it all on crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just said to her, you got to put yourself in a position where people who've done what you're doing get ahead. People who do what you're doing end up in a boot of a car. You got to knock down the head. Speaking of boots of cars. The hour before I was leaving, all these crack addicts, because it was thinning out, all these crack addicts were coming up to us in the bar, right? And they were saying, hey, man, you want this? You want this? And these, not my friends, because they were all scattered at this stage. They were flying out the next day. So it was only me and another guy who were still in the bar. The rest of them were in bed. And they're going, you want Coke? You want this? You want that? And these got Irish guys, who, as I said, they're hardcore, tradie, trucky looking dudes. Right. And they were like, yeah, sure, but we got to try it before we buy it. They'd go off to the toilet, come out flying off the head and say, no, that stuff's shit. We're not buying it. And I'm like, wow. You guys are going to end up in the boot of a car.
Yeah.
You know, and they're getting all these like 50 cent looking.
So even those
coming up saying, you know, where's the money? And they were like, it's shit. And I was like, man, look at this is going to kick off. I'm glad I'm in a cab getting out of here, you know, just lunacy.
Wow. I saw a guy, we're at the QT Hotel in Surfers on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice bar, like super nice. The girls wearing nothing, but it's this sort of hipstery sort of nice place.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there was a bit of a ruckus. It was about 1 a.m.
Yeah.
A guy had a cigarette, and he was sort of a big tradie sort of guy, but he was old enough to know better. Like he was 40-something.
Yeah.
And he had a cigarette in his hand. He was smoking inside the bar area. And these two bouncers who are English dudes too, like, no, mate, listen, like, you know, it's for 11 years this state's, you know, you can't smoke in bars. I don't know what I've done wrong. Yeah, you know, and he was out the front. He was trying to fight everyone.
Wow.
And
get a taser on
the story. But the
just out of control. Like that's what I was talking about. Those guys saying you're going to end up in the boot of a car. You can't carry on like that. You know.
Yeah.
Probably thinking along those lines.
Yeah, or just dumb things happen.
That was the weird. That was the weird thing when I first got to the MGM, seeing people smoke inside. I was like,
do they really still?
Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm in a museum from the past.
Did your clothes smell? Stink? Like
no, because they're pumping the oxygen in. You don't even smell it. You know what I mean? We're in this bar called Whiskey Down.
I wonder if they do that in the Gold Coast. I wonder.
I doubt it. No, I doubt it.
I wonder what they do.
No, I don't feel like that. If I on the rare occasions I do go to the casino, I know I've been to the casino. Once every 6 months, you kind of go, oh, never again.
You know? Yeah.
But a good thing, I didn't gamble. Like I spent $100 on a roulette wheel one night just because I was with a mate of mine. I was like, oh, I'm having a crack, and I went, okay, and he was winning and losing and going back and forward, but he didn't win or lose out of the whole week he was gambling. I lost $100 in 5 minutes and went, well, I'm sober enough, believe it or not, to know this is not working already, you know. But it's funny, like, because I spent $2,000 just on alcohol and basic food in a week, and that was that was behaving myself as much as I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you were awake that long. Everything cost hands over fist. I'll tell you, when we were checking out at a hotel, they tell you when you check in, there's a $30 a day hotel resort fee. I mean, you've already paid for your room. And then you go, right, I'm clocking out in a week. And they go, right, well, we need $300 on your credit card. And I go, okay, just a holding fee. Yeah, but that's just in case you go overboard. And you go, okay, well, there, hold it. You go to clock out. And they say, okay, $30 a day, boom. And then they said to me, you made a phone call from the room, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I rang the credit card, my Westpac. I rang the bank to say, don't freak out if when money comes out on my credit card, don't lock it because I need you to release that money. And they said, yeah, cool, okay. That was a 2-minute call. Went down to the reception. They were like, that's $90. Whoa. I was like, $90 American just to ring what should be a free number. Yeah, it was like that every step of the way. So for me to get out of there, having spent $2,000, there was another mate of mine spent $3,000, and I said to him, "What did you buy?" And he said, "A fridge magnet. Everything else was alcohol." You know, I mean, we were eating nothing but McDonald's for the first 4 days. We
Where was McDonald's? So in the building?
Yeah, everything's in there. We went to see David Copperfield. That's one thing we did. We said we got to stop. We got to stop drinking.
Enjoy yourself.
Let's do something. Yeah. And we went somewhere where there was no alcohol, which was David Copperfield. And he put on a great show.
Right.
At one point, he was waving these. He throws out frisbees, and whoever catches them gets on stage. So we had 20 people on stage to watch this thing to make sure it was nothing fraudulent. Yeah. People who caught the frisbees, and he threw this thing in the air. This sheet. They had this huge sheet like a tarp, and they were waving it in the air. And the next thing, the tarp just settled, and he said, let go, and it settled, and there was a shape of a car under it. Now, there was nothing there 10 seconds ago, and they pulled the tarp, and it was a full-on Oldsmobile, and he just climbed into it and drove off the stage. And we were just like, where did that come from? And another thing, he had a big glass box, like a goldfish tank, huge, spinning it around, nothing in it whatsoever, and he dropped the sheets, and then he pulled the sheets off, and there was a motorcycle in there. There was loads of stuff that you just go, I do not understand how that happened, but it was pretty bloody impressive. Yeah,
You know what was interesting for me? Once I was a backstage manager for this little magic show.
Yeah,
in a proper theater that was made for magic shows. So it had all this cheesebook stuff. All the magic is so basic. It's always trapdoors in the stage. Often little, the smoke's going off on that side of the stage only so people look there while this little flap gets lifted here and you don't realise this and that happening. So it's incredible to work backstage for that sort of stuff. This guy had
a huge team as well, this guy, Copperfield.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. No doubt. And he'd have to somehow keep his... it was one of my favourite movies of all time is The Prestige. That's the... and they sort of go into two magicians that are trying to outdo each other.
Yeah.
Well, David Bowie's in there too.
Oh wow.
He plays who's the great inventor of electricity?
Oh, Tesla.
Yeah. Well, David Bowie plays Tesla.
Yeah.
Anyway,
wow.
Great movie, the best movie ever.
I saw a weird thing about Tesla on the internet the other day. It was his multiplication prime numbers table, and what it was like a spiral that had the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just endless going up. And then he had all these like pentagrams and triangles and squares overlaid on this. And it was the actual prime numbers were coming out as patterns on this. It was unbelievable. Like you're looking at it going, wow, it's a very complex thing. And he's made it into a diagram. The guy was a genius, Yeah. Speaking of films, I watched on the plane on the way home. First off, I bought a pair of Bose noise cancelling headphones for $200. They're normally like $500 over here. Those things are unreal. There was a baby screaming about 3 seats down from me, and I just pressed the button, and he was gone. Wow. I was like, this is the greatest invention ever, Music sounds beautiful on them, but you press this button, the way these noise-cancelling headphones work, they record sound happening outside of the headphones, and they broadcast it back, but they invert the signal. So when the waveform goes up, it's going down. So if you lift this thing slightly off your ear, you can hear the baby, and you can hear the baby in the speaker. But when you put the speaker back on your ear, you can hear nothing because it's the same sound, just positive is negative, negative is positive.
Crazy.
And it's cut out completely.
Crazy.
That's amazing technology, you know.
You know, you two have this new. When I say new, it's got to be 8 years old.
Yeah.
Where they had that. First heard about that in cars.
Yeah.
They were doing that to cancel cars. It was sort of like an electric car that had no